When you look at Mario Party as a series, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For some, it might be some of the best minigames in the franchise. For a few others, it could just be Salto at the newer Mario Parties. For some other people, it could just be sadness over superstars not getting DLC. Why? But something that's just as important is the boards. We've had a lot of boards across the series, all with unique sets of strengths and weaknesses. Now, everyone has their favorite and least favorite boards. You might enjoy Horrorland the most, you might think that Neon High is its peak, or maybe even something from the newer games. But when asked about the least favorite boards, there's a lot of them that could be strong, or I guess weak, contenders as well. The Eternal Star, Padoga Peak, the entirety of Mario Party 4... But for my money, there is one board that clearly takes the cake. The board in question being... Mr. Mover. For some of you, this board name doesn't ring any bells. That's because it's actually not a traditional board. Every Mario Party game has some sort of side mode that's special and memorable. Mario Party 5 has that car builder mode, 7 has the 8-player mode, 2 has plagiarism. Mario Party 3's side mode was the dual boards. A quick explanation on how the dual mode works. It's a 1v1 as the name implies, and both players have 5 HP. The goal is to get your opponent to 0 HP or have more HP than them by the end of the turn limit if that's enabled, with ties being determined by most coins. You get partners to help you. If a partner is in front of you, they get to attack when you pass by someone. If it's behind you, it'll block damage for you. Every partner has different HP and attack values, like Koopa having 2 HP and 1 attack, and certain partners have different abilities that help on the field, such as Piranha Plant giving you extra dice blocks, or more unique ways of attacking, like Chain Chomps hitting multiple targets. But they also cost money to maintain, and it varies from partner to partner, so keep your money in check. Both players have different starting points, and getting back to your own starting point gives you 10 coins and a new partner. You can hold at most 2 partners at a time. Boards are significantly more simplistic than regular boards to compensate for the fact that there's only 2 players. But there's still plenty of spaces that can cause some chaos, like the Game Guy spaces which force you to gamble all your money, or these power-up partner spaces which double all of your partner's stats, including cost, until you get back to your start point. All boards have some gimmick that makes them stand out from one another, like Pipe Squeak being about these pipes you travel through, Blowhard, yes that's its name, swapping your partner's positions, or the topic of this video, Mr. Mover being a conveyor belt that switches directions. Now, the idea of a conveyor belt sounds like a cool concept that will make for a good map, right? Ha! Nope, you read the title. This board is absolute garbage, and it's time for me to explain why that's the case. Let's begin. Let's start with the most obvious thing first, the gimmick of the board, since it is not balanced whatsoever. It's skewed in such a way that whoever rolls second would almost always have an advantage. Since the conveyor direction changes at the end of a turn, player 2 is able to escape from being chased by player 1 if they're ahead, but if they're the ones chasing player 1, then most of the time they're gonna be able to give chase. This also has the issue of you often going towards the wrong side of the board. On its own, that's not the worst thing in the world. But when getting to your base is as important as it is, and the conveyor drops you off right at base, going to the wrong base means you can spend a long time without partners. And since only partners attack and you can't, that leads to games that are just going to take forever, and not much you can do about it. There are junctions that allow you to hold off for a bit, but this is the worst way to go about it. Since the junction is before you get to the middle of the map, you have games where you end up looping around it for the whole game, since going to mid first is almost always a death sentence. This makes stalling an even more effective strategy, and it doesn't really help control your direction with Mr. Mover due to how far away it is and the fact that you're still controlling your movement by dice blocks. It doesn't help that items like mushrooms are not a thing that's allowed in this mode to help with this issue. A lot of these elements would make for a pretty shaky board already if it was a normal type of board, since people don't tend to like boards that have this limited movement. But on a mode where interacting with your opponent and getting back to base are as important as they are, you can feel the impact of this limited choice a lot harsher than you would have otherwise. That said, this wasn't inevitable. A lot of these problems could be very easily fixable and make the experience a lot more bearable. First of all, tackling the main gimmick, make the conveyor belt switch every 1.5 turns instead of all turns. That way, it always alternates whose turn it is when the conveyor switches sides, allowing either player to give chase or get away depending on the turn. This keeps the gimmick as a factor you gotta account for, but it's a lot more fair this way. Regardless, it's still pretty limiting. So the junctions will have to be reworked. And bear with me for a second, I'm not the best artist, but here's what I came up with. How about, instead of just having the loops on the sides of the board or the beginning, you have a few junctions on mid for a slightly longer path. They can still be right angle turns, and the minigame guy will be right in between them, so he's guaranteed to be passed through. But if you get pulled in for a special minigame, you get a bit of a choice on the second one, but not too much to make it overpowered. And yes, the reverse space at the very end will still be there, but you'll go back the way you originally came. This could allow you to make a choice again if you roll high enough though, giving you options and potentially allowing you to get chased or just barely make it to base. It's really funny looking at this map as a Splatoon 3 player. It's plagued by the same problem other that game's maps have, aka a big lack of options and a big funnel concentrated around the middle of the map. And it can be fixed in a very similar way by just giving people more options. Anyway, that's it for this video. I really just wanted an excuse to talk about this dual mode a bit, since it is one of the lesser talked about modes in the Mario Party series, and I figured, what better way to do it than talking about a board that I don't think is very good. If you have the Nintendo Switch Online expansion and people to play with, you should give it a try. You can spend a lot of hours messing around with it if both players enjoy it. What do you guys think is the worst board in the Mario Party series? And do you think Mr. Move It is okay as is, or if these reworks are necessary? Or do you even have your own ideas? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and take care.